privilege to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Tej Pratap Sir, who is the guiding force, whose constant encouragement helps us to organize all these activities. So I take this opportunity to welcome you, sir, to this international webinar. We also have with us Professor S.K. Kashyap, Agriculture and PI, Principal Investigator of the National Agricultural Higher Education, and Dr. Antananda Ma'am, College of Technology. So on behalf of the organization, I welcome you, sir and madam, to this international webinar. I also welcome all the participants who are joining us across the globe for this international webinar. So this is an occasion which has got two broader aspects. The first aspect is Pantnagar University is with Western City University for a long time, and we are going to strengthen this relationship further to promote exchange of faculty and students under the National Agricultural Higher Education project that is being run in the Pantnagar University. The second broader aspect of this webinar is, as today is the World Environment Day, so as responsible citizens of both the democracies, the largest democracy, that is India, and then Australia, as responsible citizens of both these democracies, we also strengthen our resolve to save our environment, because that is the concern today. When the global climate is changing, when so many unwelcome things are taking place, we know that the components of climates have been changing for the last so many years, and the present COVID situation, which has forced all the humanity into a lockdown situation. So this is the time we strengthen our resolve to save our environment through all our activities. So this partnership will take care of both the things. So once again, with all enthusiasm and with all interest and with all this resolve in mind, we go ahead with this webinar. So once again, I welcome one and all joining this webinar. Thank you very much.
Sound clear. Thank you, Dr. Guru, for your welcome address. Now I request Professor Jyoti Prasad to introduce our international expert, Professor Basant Maheshwari ji from Western Sydney University. He is also our today's speaker on the topic Managing the India's Invisible Resource.
Very good morning and good afternoon to all Australian experts and also the participants. Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, Dr. Tej Pratap, Professor Basant Maheshwari, International Expert from Sydney, Dean College of Agriculture, Professor Shivendra Kashyap, Dean College of Technology, Professor Alaknanda Ashok. I will be presenting brief biodata of Professor Basant Maheshwari, international expert for this international webinar on managing the India invisible resource, the role of participatory groundwater monitoring and management at village level. Basant Maheshwari is a professor in water environment and sustainability at Western City University. He has over 30 years teaching experience, research, outreach experience, and his current research has a particular focus on water resource modeling, groundwater monitoring and management, urban water, river health, irrigation, water education, engagement and capacity building, environmental sustainability and water for livelihood and well-being. He is passionate about understanding the social, economic, cultural, policy and institutional aspects of water management and engaging communities, governments and other stakeholders to address the local and regional water issues. His efforts have focused on valuing the role of people and working with them for the change. Also, his work emphasizes that complex water and environmental problem requires the well-designed simple solutions that will result in situation improvement and livelihood improvements. During the last 10 years, Professor Maheshwari involved in transdisciplinary approach to the water research and led to the project called MARVI related to the groundwater management in Rajasthan and Gujarat. The project is focused to understanding how groundwater, farmers and other stakeholders in the watershed interact and influence the water security at the village level. The work from MARVI led to the signing of the MOU with Jal Shakti Ministry in 2019, and MARVI approach is now being outscaled in other states in India. Professor Maheshwari has more than 240 publications to his name, including over 110 articles in peer-reviewed journals, international journals, and led several major externally funded research projects, Australia and Asia and Africa. I welcome you, sir, once again for this webinar, and I welcome you, all of you, for this World Environmental Day celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jyoti Prasad. Now, there are 8 colleges in our Pantnagar University, and agriculture is one of them. And this is the college which has been started during 1960 initially. So now I request Professor Kashyap, College of Agriculture, to give his introductory remarks. Professor Kashyap, please. Professor Kashyap.
Yogita, Dr. Yogita.
Deepti.
Sir, let me connect to him.
Yeah, please. His audio is muted. Audio is muted. Okay.
I think we can carry on because I don't have the unmuting rights. I only have the muting right as a host.
Okay, please. So now some technical problems are there. Now I request our Dr. Alakananda Ashok. She is Dean of our College of Technology. So where we have 8 disciplines and also 11 departments are there in this College of Technology. And she will say some introductory remarks about our College of Technology on the occasion of World Environmental Day and also on this occasion of webinar. Madam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. I'm really delighted that you have given me this opportunity. First of all, I would like to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor of GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Dr. Pratap. I welcome Professor Basant Maheshwari. He is from Western Sydney University, Australia. I also welcome Professor Shivin Kashyap. He is Dean Agriculture of our university, and all participants who are participating from national and international countries. I heartily welcome to the heartily welcome to all of you to this international webinar on managing the India's visible resources, the role of participatory groundwater monitoring and management at the village level. I am delighted to state that the topic chosen for today's discussion is the need of our very essential and important. I take this opportunity to say a few words about our College of Technology. The College of Technology came into existence in this prestigious GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology in year 1966. In year 1966, College of Agriculture and College of Technology, they merged together and become a one unit. College has even 11 departments offering 8 BTech degree programs, namely Agriculture Engineering, Civil Engineering, Computer Engineering, Electrical Engineering, Electronics and Communication Engineering, Information Technology, Mechanical Engineering, Industrial and Production Engineering. In addition to it, the college offers postgraduate programs, including a self-finance MCA program. The College of Technology is an ISO 9001-2000 certified institute and privileged to have a well-qualified and experienced faculty with judicious mix of creative, talented, and communicated academicians. A large number of faculty members hold PhD degree in their respective fields from national and international institutes of repute. The best part, or I can say the main feature of college is that along with other engineering colleges, we have agriculture engineering having expertise in soil and water conservation. We are privileged being the part of the world-famed university having expertise in the field of agriculture, veterinary, fisheries, pharmacologies, and many more, which further gives us opportunity and encourage us to perform interdisciplinary research. The vision of College of Technology is to become an internationally recognized leader in technical education, research, and extension. All the programs of study are approved by AICT and accredited by the National Board of Accreditation. Admission to BTech programs are through JEE. Admission to MTech programs are through GATE School. JEE and GATE examination are the most prestigious examinations which being taken by the students all over the country. The score, while the MCA programs are through NIM set score. The college is the lead institute in Uttarakhand in the World Bank project for technical education quality improvement program, that is TQ1, TQ2, as well as in TQ3, and is also the regional academy center for Cisco. The college is proud of its infrastructure, faculties befitted by modern technological needs. I would like to welcome Professor Basant Maheshwari, and I'm really delighted that today's session is head by Professor Basant Maheshwari. As Dr. Jyoti has already introduced him, he is a key responsible person for signing a Memorandum of Association, that is MOU, with Western Sydney University, Australia, and between the Govind Ballabh Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, India. Global Initiative for Academic Network, GYAN, that is GIAN, GYAN, and Scheme for Promotion of Academic Research Collaboration, that is called SPARC, SPARC. It is an MHRD government project. Are of prestigious scheme projects are the outcome of our relationship. Hope to have many more collaborations in future, and we will participate actively to get some better outputs. So with these words, I welcome all the participants who have joined us for this webinar, and I once again welcome our Vice Chancellor, Professor Basant, and our keynote speaker, Professor Basant Maheshwari. You are welcome, sir, and I'm really privileged to have both of you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for your introductory remarks. Now, there are some technical problems. Professor Kashyap will not be in a position to join. Now, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Tej Pratap Ji. He is an particularly ecologist, environmentalist, and also he worked in IC mode, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development at Nepal, and afterwards he was Vice Chancellor for, earlier he worked as a Vice Chancellor for I think it is the 4th university, if I remember, after working extensively in Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and other states. So now I request, without wasting much of all the time, I request Dr. Tej Pratap Ji to address the webinar participants. Sir, please.
Good morning, all participants. Maheshwari, आपको आवाज आ रही है?
बिल्कुल आ रही है सर.
नमस्कार कर लेता हूँ.
Thank you.
मैं तो आया इसलिए मैंने कहा चलो मुलाकात हो जाएगी बड़े दिन बाद.
नहीं बहुत अच्छा.
It's so good to see you here. और आज environment के दिन में. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is an event organized jointly by Pantnagar University and Western Sydney University. It's an outcome of our joint partnership. Probably these are kind of things that come up from time to time on very specific issues. It is 5th of June, Environment Day. You know, environment and हम कहते हैं वातावरण. Jalvayu, Abo Hava. Ab means pani and Hava means air. So today's key lecture by Basant Maheshwari would be focused on water. I'll come to that later. So that's very well covered. Just to say that on the day that we come together to look at the issues confronting environment, it's not always like that. It's like spending time on something. So let me broadly pick up a few topics, and this year's focus is on biodiversity. When we talk about biodiversity, it's not something new. I think off and on every third, fourth year, we actually one or the other way focus on topic whenever there is an environmental issue on biodiversity. Why should we be serious today about that? What is something new? And 2020, it's almost 2 decades of 21st century, with the COVID-19 coronavirus around, which has shaken the whole world. What is the relationship between these things, and what should we be concerned with this thing? I'll just briefly take you around, then to bring to water and underground water. फिर महेश्वरी जी आपको hand over कर देंगे. We have to realize that at this juncture, globally, we in the environmental sphere, we are confronted with 3 very important driving forces. It's climate change, one of the very strong driving force. It is a social change. It is economic change. And these are 3 drivers, and they are reinforcing each other. If there were very few individuals, if we were living in kind of environment that was 15th century, probably then the topic of environment would not be that much important. Anything becomes important when either it is actually progressing very well, it is a very promising avenue, or there are certain distress calls. From environmental viewpoint, there are plenty of distress calls today that we see. And as I said, the 3 driving forces, that is the driving force of economic change, driving force of social change, and then of course the environment combined together. When we see the impact of these things on environment in biological sense, then biodiversity comes to the center. Biodiversity is being impacted both in nature as well as in human managed ecosystems. Environment normally, geographically, if you have to see, then you divide it into 2. The natural ecosystems. Natural ecosystems are impacted by the human intervention in terms of global warming that we have caused because of greenhouse gases, dumping too much of carbon dioxide in nature, and then we are getting the gift of global warming, and that leads to climate change. So whether it is glaciers very far away that we see that maybe that endangers the world, the global community in a larger context in changing the environments and ocean rise, that many people would see is not near to them. But then that is not all. Climate change also impacts very locally. That is the topic of today. That when you are living in a village or you are in a city, all of us are witness to one thing: scarcity of water, quality water, and water assets. And this is something, quality of water, many of us have already forgotten what is quality of water. वो तो हम आजकल mineral bottle में ही देखते हैं. If I ask you anybody, can you drink a water from a stream? Probably you will have to then fly to Switzerland or Austria or somewhere very far away into the mountain lakes or somewhere into a mountain river. There only you can be very sure that you're taking a fresh water. I'm sure बसंत जी आपके एरिया में शायद अच्छे नदी नाले होंगे जो साफ होंगे. आपके गांव में तो नहीं है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया होंगे, आप इसीलिए गए हैं, मुझे पता है ना. Anyway, if that is the case, at the same time, in the managed ecosystems, that's mostly our agro ecosystems, we need to see the whole issue of biodiversity. Biodiversity in nature, definitely in natural ecosystems, it is under stress, and that stress is of human interventions, like Amazon forest we are cutting. And when we cut a natural ecosystem, we give way to another kind of ecosystem that human beings desire. Cutting forests and killing animals and giving way to a new kind of ecosystem, coffee plantations or rubber plantations, or it's a banana, or you can change to anything that human beings think that is economically important to them. That's one way. So a squeezing of natural ecosystems. Back home, if we are in India and in the Indian Himalayas, then we see a very different kind of thing when we talk about. We are already aware that Government of India has a law that all the mountain areas, forests are actually kind of conservation areas, banned for intervention to the people. The access to these resources some 50 years ago and today is so different कि तब लोग बड़े आराम से इन जंगलों में से अपनी रोजी रोटी के लिए या वैसे restrictions नहीं मानते थे, access थी, freely घूमते थे, लेते थे. But in today's context, when we see many of you are aware of problems with the ecosystem, tribal areas of Jharkhand or in any other area. What's our problem there with the Marxists? It is an environmental problem. The majority community, the national community, that's Indians, all we Indians felt that these environment needs to be preserved in the larger interest of the nation. But then we undermine the communities who are living. साथ जितने भी tribals हैं वो जंगल में रहते हैं, वो पास्ट के कई century से उसी में रह रहे हैं. उनके लिए the balance number of people living there and the amount of resources, biodiversity in that area was in balance. Access resources, थोड़े लोग, लेकिन this is something very interesting that I have been keenly observing, whether it is insurgency affected areas. I say there is a resource access conflict, the larger interest of community and the economic interest of locals. और सिर्फ यही नहीं है, आप north east में जाएं, आप नीलगिरी hills में जाएं, I'm sure it is elsewhere also where we have natural resources like that. Biodiversity is other thing that we see in nature is also that is nearer to our interest areas of human beings. It is on crops, it is on livestock. The whole composition of bioresources, plants, animals, that is changing. It's changing in two ways. One, it is an impact of climate. जहाँ आज 50 साल से पहले कोई फसल होती थी, वो आज नहीं हो पाएगी, नहीं हो पा रही है, और जैसे जैसे वार्मिंग बढ़ रही है, you see it more in hills, less in plains. But then also we have been talking about the environment. आज ऐसा है तो कल भी ऐसा रहेगा. Many people say India will become food insecure. Why? When the climate changes, it becomes warmer. The production of wheat and rice will reduce. Those are the kind of impact. Then biodiversity changes. What will grow in place of wheat and rice? Human beings have to live. The stress on scientific community to come up with the new kind of bioresources or crop plants. That's kind of issue that we see. Well, having said that, let's focus on today's thing. Our today's focus is water. Before Maheshwari ji, you step in. I think in water, I had always thought for the past many years in mountain areas, land was a scarcity. And it was, of course. And I've been a very strong kind of advocate that cropland is one of the scarcest resource of mountain societies. But then over the past 10 years, suddenly the issue has changed. The most important natural source in mountains today is the water, the drinking water I was talking about. And it is becoming so much important today. One, there are now areas where there are water refuges because the water in the village is not coming, it's no longer available, so you have to shift. Or you are shifting for 6 months, then you are coming back because in the winter snow used to come and then it would feed your natural sources, so you had enough of clean water. The snow is no longer there, or it is so little that it doesn't feed your water sources and availability. You are depending on streams. We as human beings as society, because of our greed or economic development first, we have polluted our water sources so much that I would say, I've coined a word for the green ecosystem, that all green is not grass. The cow cannot eat all the green that is around because it's obnoxious. Similarly, today, all water is not water. अब उसको क्या बोलेंगे महेश्वरी जी, सोच लो आप उतनी देर में. All water is not water. Water is only that is in the mineral bottle for us. And there is plenty of water with you, but you still are holding a bottle. So 1 liter is equal to plenty of water in front of you, which you cannot drink, which you cannot bathe. आज के दिन में तो आप गंगा में स्नान करने भी आएंगे तो वहां भी आप दूरी खड़े होते हैं. It's as good as practically dry. It's good, you are seeing water, but you don't want to jump into that. When a resource becomes such in its character that its natural character is not appreciated, or we cannot really use that in form. I say, एक वो term है इसमें medical में physiological excess. आप फूड खाते हैं, अगर आप उसको डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं, so it's physiologically और poor खाना तो है, लेकिन आप चाह नहीं सकते. Similarly, I think there's a problem with water also. Water also is indicator of biodiversity maintenance. Water is today a limiting factor, a determinant of the changing biodiversity in many areas. The ecosystem changes that are being impacted. Water in terms of global context, rainfall कैसे होता है? Regular rainfall ना हो तो composition of natural ecosystems is being impacted. वो ना हो तो हमारे जो managed agro ecosystems हैं, they are being impacted. More so nowadays, we see that we are today planting the seeds of the kind of society we will see in future, constrained by or determined by the availability of quality water, if I put it like that. I would like to stop at that. That quality water for me is water. The rest of water, अब महेश्वरी जी आप ये आपके जिम्मे आप डिफाइन करो उसको, बाकी का क्या है. Thank you very much indeed. मैं आपको ले जाता हूँ गांव में. At village level, we discussed his study earlier and it was very fascinating the way he said. Even though it was somewhere in Rajasthan, but it is much more important to every area. And then I was sharing with him that it's not only Rajasthan, because the earth is one of the best filters of water. साफ पानी तो हम गंदा कर रहे हैं, एक ही चीज है जो उसको साफ करती है, वो धरती. So allow it to go down, then you get the clean water. At least there is that thing. And it is not only important to plain areas where usually we are used to groundwater. It has become equally important in mountain areas. I was discussing within the challenge that we have to probably innovate the kind of knowledge and invention. It needs research, thinking that how do we recharge the water flows of mountain areas and nearer the villages, whereby now water, if the springs are going dry, that they can be recharged through groundwater management. There are good experiences already. Some work is going on. I'm sure you are going to reflect on that also. With these words, thank you very much. I just needed to only energize the people, and please, it is your day. We are very keen to hear you on this topic. Thank you very much.
Professor
Yes.
your audio is good, please.
Yes, Shivendra.
Yeah, now
Yes, yes. Am I audible?
Now,
It's not very clear.
not
Thank you, thank you. And
you can unmute your video.
my audio.
It's okay.
Am I clear now? Audio is coming.
Yes. Now,
Is it clear? The voice is coming or not? To all. Am I audible?
No, it's breaking.
No voice.
Sir.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's breaking.
you start with your message and we'll give you the feedback.
Namaskar to all.
Yes, sir. Audible.
ठीक है.
Please go ahead, sir.
चलेगा उनको यहीं बुला लो लास्ट में.
Hello. Hello. Professor Maheshwari, sir.
We can
You
start.
please unmute your audio, sir.
We can start with your session.
हाँ महेश्वरी जी आप ही बोले फिर ये मशहूर तो बाद में बोले.
Sir, unmute your audio, sir. Professor Maheshwari, sir. Audio is muted.
मैडम को बोलो.
अनम्यूट तो सेंट्रल कंट्रोल में.
Dipti, please unmute Professor Basant.
Dipti.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
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 Ah,
Now
yes,
we
yes,
can
yes.
hear.
You can hear.
So, am I audible?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, first of all, namaskar. Happy World Environmental Day. And it's a great pleasure and also privilege to give this webinar on this important day. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Professor Tej Pratap ji. And for his nice introduction and also a lot of practical things he talked and deep in understanding and insights he has. Really enjoyed. Also, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. S.K. Kashyap, Dean College of Agriculture, Dr. Alaklanda Ashok, Dean College of Engineering, and Dr. Guru. And also, I'd like to thank Professor Shiv Prasad and Professor Jyoti Prasad for organizing this webinar and for this opportunity. I'm able to share some of the things I have been doing and thinking. So the topic of the webinar is managing India's invisible resource, the role of participatory groundwater monitoring and management at the village level. So the word village level is very important, and the participatory aspect. So groundwater and environment. So they are very much connected with each other. And also, as Professor Tej Pratap ji said, there is a biodiversity in the environment, and the groundwater is connected with the biodiversity as well. And the groundwater interact with surface water. It's not a separate thing. Groundwater is connected with river. So for example, when there's no rains, the water in the river most likely is from groundwater. It's base flow. Similarly, wetlands and lakes. Groundwater also is important for trees, deep-rooted trees, vegetation of all sorts. And so overall, it is very important for environment. Surface water versus groundwater. So we can see surface water, but groundwater is underground. And because we can build dams, we can see the dams. So there has been more emphasis on surface water and more investment by governments on surface water. Groundwater has been invisible, and also groundwater, the flow we can't control. It has its own natural flow. Groundwater pumping is hard to monitor, control in country like India, millions of bore wells and dug wells and so on. The problem of the groundwater is excessive use. So we are using more water than what is recharged. And it's a decentralized resource. So it's not limited to one particular area, but it's everywhere. And so the investment has been lower compared to surface water. So if we talk about the use of groundwater, about 60% of irrigated agriculture in India depends on groundwater. 80% of drinking water in rural areas comes from groundwater. More than 50% drinking water in urban areas and industrial water needs are from groundwater. Country like Denmark, nearly all water supply is groundwater. Mexico City, Kabul, many other cities largely depend on groundwater. And we had green revolution in 1970s, and groundwater played a big role, and that's how we achieved food security. But at the same time, it affected water security. And if we go back, say 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, we didn't have pumps, so we relied on bullocks and lifting water. And what these bullocks used to do in a whole day, when you could do in half an hour, that sort of pumping. So it changed the whole use of groundwater, and the drilling, which you can go as deep as you want, 100 meter, 200 meter, 300 meters. And so we extracted too much water, groundwater. So we have challenge with groundwater. We often take it for granted. So it's available, so we ignore because it's invisible. And we realize the problem when the well is dry or hand pump is not operating. Also, there's a good chance we pollute groundwater through chemicals and through various other things. And sometimes the quality is not suitable due to natural processes like too much fluoride in Rajasthan and many other parts of India. Fluoride is a problem. Arsenic is a problem. Uranium is a problem, and that can really affect health and well-being of people. Or over pumping can aggravate the situation. Also, it's a replenishable resource, so we need to balance the use and recharge. So groundwater, as I mentioned before, is an invisible resource. And when something is invisible, it's hard to communicate what is happening. And this is one of the challenges with groundwater science and management. So we understand many things, but groundwater being underground, how it flows, where it flows, still a lot of understanding we don't have. So it makes very hard to manage as well. So the challenge is we need to balance. So at the moment we have more use than what is annually recharged. As I mentioned before, it's a replenishable resource. So if we don't replace back, then we have a problem. And that's what we are going through in India, in many other countries in the world. And in very simple terms, when we were doing this project, which I will describe, groundwater challenge. So one farmer said it's like ATM machine. So if we don't put water back as recharge, then if we take more water, then like ATM machine, the money won't come out. So groundwater is like that. So I'd like to share some things we have done in last 9 years in Rajasthan and Gujarat. It's a project called MARVI, Managing Aquifer Recharge and Sustaining Groundwater Use Through Village Level Intervention. The project was funded by ACIR, Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, and Australian Water Partnership. And it has been running since 2012 and still continuing. So it has 9 partners. Western Sydney University is the lead partners with the Development Support Center, Aid Communities and Technologies in Gujarat, and MPUH in Rajasthan, Vidya Bhavan Krishi Vigyan Kendra, and in Australia, CSIRO, International Water Management Institute, Mekong Region's Futures Research, and Carnegie Mellon University. So these were the key partners, and many of them are still continuing. And we had total 30 researchers and 35 farmer researchers. And MARVI project key activities, three aspects. So participatory data collection, sharing information and building understanding, and engaging with policymakers, government agencies, and groundwater users and other stakeholders. So there's a lot of working with people and learning together. And this project was conducted in 2 states, Rajasthan and Gujarat. So in Rajasthan in Udaipur district and Gujarat in Aravalli districts. And both districts are semi-arid, and groundwater is a big issue in those areas. So when we started this project, we had 2 options. Option 1 was the data collection, modeling, and development of scenarios and recommendations. And so it's a lot of some data collection, working in the office and like that. And the other option was bring people together to own the problem. People monitor groundwater, learn together, and develop their own science and strategies and ways to act together. So it's working with at the grassroots level. And so option 1 was easier, but project would have ended long time ago. So the original project was for 4 years, but we are still continuing, and there's another 2-3 years of funding continuing. Option 2 was time consuming, requiring patience, but has really led to actions by the community. Also, work is ongoing and will get replicated in new areas across India. And the example is Atal Bhujal Yojana. Jal Shakti Ministry and World Bank just initiated this project, and we are working with them. So the MARVI approach. So there are 3 elements: science of groundwater, community, and government. And often the scientists work with the government in terms of funding and working together, or sometimes government has some programs to work with the community, but all not working together. And that's what we tried to do in MARVI project. So we brought the community, the science, and the government stakeholders together. So who are the actors in the MARVI project? So the researchers, so both the traditional researchers like us and the farmers, we work together. And then we also engaged with the schools and village communities, and then Gram Panchayat, state and central government agencies. And then we had BJs, Bhujal Jankars. I will explain a bit more about them. So these are the main actors in the project. So MARVI means local management of groundwater, improved livelihood, and groundwater sustainability. So there are 3 main elements. One is aquifer recharge. So understand recharge dynamics with rainfall and pumping. So what happens? And effective planning and design of recharge structures and performance of recharge structures. So understanding the whole recharge dynamics. And the other aspect is groundwater. So how much water is used, what crop to grow, and what irrigation methods to use. And the third one is village engagement and ownership. So involve farmers, school children, and other community members to monitor rainfall, water level, water quality, and so on, and eventually lead to some sort of cooperation. So this project really brought all these 3 elements together. So what did we really do in the MARVI project? So we trained Bhujal Jankars and work with them on an ongoing basis, not just do the training and let them work but we really worked on daily or weekly basis with them. They collected groundwater level data, rainfall amounts, water quality, check dam water level, and also we collected socioeconomic data to understand what is happening, why it is happening, and so on. So these BJs collected this groundwater data on weekly basis. They collected rainfall data, and we worked with local schools and community to develop their understanding and their support, and worked with Gram Panchayat, state government agencies. And then we developed tools based on the data collection by villagers and resources for data collection, analysis, and capacity building. And we also kept the connection with the policymakers at the state and central government levels. So it was not, the aim was to really make a difference. If we had option one, which is modeling and all that, we would have collected lots of data, we would have done a lot of number crunching and nice reports, graphs, and tables, and easy to publish. But this was more transdisciplinary, means going beyond, focusing on the people and their needs, and the research is done to help them. So these Bhujal Jankars, we engaged these local volunteers. So they were from primary school to high school pass, these volunteers. And so we had 25 in Rajasthan, 10 in Gujarat. And they went through training of 7 modules. And that training went for about 7 to 8 months. And they learned about hydrogeologic concepts in their own language, in their own settings. They learned about mapping, water table monitoring, water quality monitoring, and they became local champions. So once the training, and they started monitoring, and they were the interface between the research team and the community. So whenever we were there, we went to the villages, they were there to talk about what they're doing and connect the researchers with the village community or farmers. And they really felt empowered and valued because we treated them as colleagues, or we're working together, learning from each other, and like that. And so I want to say how it started. So when we had the first meeting with about 35, 40 researchers and the villagers in one of the villages in Rajasthan, the few people, there were about 120 to 150 people in the big school hall, and they really welcomed us. And then we explained that we have brought this project to help you with your groundwater issues. And they said, okay, that's very good, but we really don't need your research here. So that we were really taken aback and asked, well, what do you mean? And they said, if you have this funding, you give the money to us, so we will drill deeper and we can have more water, because there is underground river, and there's plenty of water. So as we go deeper, there's more water. And we said, we can't do this, but we really want to understand and work with you. So they finally agreed, okay, let's work together. And when these BJs started monitoring, so these BJs will go every Sunday in the morning to measure the groundwater levels. And so these other villages or well owners will ask them, what are you doing? Why are you doing? They will explain that we are monitoring this groundwater. And they also didn't know what will be the value of their monitoring of groundwater level. And we were not sure how accurate their data will be. So it was a learning and was a uncertainty of this. But then they kept monitoring every week. And then people, after a few weeks, the same farmers started asking, what was my water level last week? Or what was my water level last month? And Then after 7-8 months, we had another forum in the same villages. And the whole conversation from giving us the money, we go deeper to saying that groundwater is not unlimited and water table fluctuates with the rainfall. And we need to, there is no unlimited water. We need to manage this. So that was the change by engaging these BJs, local people, to monitor and communicate with the locals in their own language and in their own understanding. So for example, one of the BJs started explaining that the groundwater is like our mobile phone. And so if we don't recharge this mobile phone, the phone will become useless. And similarly, groundwater needs to be recharged and needs to be used wisely. Otherwise, we will run out of this. So that was the change by the engagement. So this example of how these BJs went for training in their own settings about various things from mapping to land use and planning for water in their language, their setting at the very basic level. And so that was some done in classroom settings, some in the field, and they really enjoyed and they felt empowered. So this is an example of one classroom here, and that was in the university in Udaipur. And these people, when I happened to be there and asked, well, what's your reflection? And they said, we never thought we will be in a classroom in a university. We were primary school past people, but they really felt proud. Similarly, these BJs working in the field, monitoring things, what this BJ in Gujarat marking the well, which they will be monitoring, like that. And we had lots of meetings with the villagers, working with them and trying to understand the issues. And this is one of the graphs of water table fluctuation measured by one BJ in one of the villages. So when after 4 or 5 months, when we got all the data and we were plotting this data, and when we saw the good pattern, what is happening, we were really surprised that their data can be reliable. This is another example of the water table fluctuation measured in one of the villages of about 25 wells. And it clearly shows the pattern, how it changes, and from pre-monsoon to the post-monsoon. We also measure the check dams in the area. So because the check dams provide the groundwater recharge, and again, that monitoring was done by these BJs. And we also wanted to make sure that they will do a good job because one of the researchers was doing PhD, and she wanted to make sure that these data are available and can be used for her PhD. So we gave them a mobile phone, and so they took the photograph of the reading, the gauge board, and also recorded. And when we analyzed those data and the photos, their recording was about 98% whatever is on the picture. So what that shows is these villagers can collect good data if we support them, nurture them, and work with them. And we did simplified science based on this data and understood the water balance. And that is published in international journals and like that. So what it means is we don't need to be very complicated. We can still use local data. We always don't have all the things we need in terms of resources, the background information, but we can work whatever we have, limited historical data or limited resources. And this is a good example of that we can do and get insights and get understanding what is happening. Now we collected so many data over last in the first 2-3 years, and so we had 250 wells monitored in Rajasthan, 110 wells in Gujarat, and they are being monitored every week. So you get a lot of data, and how do you manage them? So we thought of some centralized system. So we developed a app called My Well, and through that, these BJs or the BJ facilitator can help them to upload, and other people can visualize data in terms of what is happening in almost real time. So 4 things are important in managing groundwater at village level: is the water level in the well, the amount of rainfall, water quality, and check dam water level. If we know all this, we can have the groundwater balance understanding of the local village, and we can develop village water security plan or help this panchayat to look into how they can assist in this sort of thing. And what all this is leading to village groundwater cooperatives. So we already established 3 cooperatives in Rajasthan and 2 in Gujarat. And the idea of these cooperatives is about 15 to 20 villagers, farmers who have the adjoining land get together, and they form this cooperative. And so in this case, they have been registered formally with the Rajasthan and Gujarat State Cooperative Department. And they're still working, developing in terms of the how to govern them, how to share groundwater. So the idea is to recharge cooperatively, and then these BJs can monitor groundwater and understand how much recharge has taken place during the monsoon and how they can plant together. So this idea came, and we are working with it. But there were a lot of issues. So what were the key considerations for forming these village cooperatives? So there were about 4 or 5 steps. So one of the points was the farmers will not be worse off when they join the cooperatives. The second sort of condition was they will not pump water more than what is recharged, and they will work on strategies to reduce groundwater demand and increase supplies through more recharge. And then we will work with the state government or panchayat or other agencies to redirect their programs to support these cooperatives. And we need the ongoing support for them to succeed. So there were challenges in the beginning. So first thing was convincing farmer to share and manage groundwater as a common resource was the hardest task. Farmer who have groundwater, why should I share? And how will it benefit me? These were the questions asked. And those who do not have groundwater, they are not clear as to what will they have to do to contribute for sharing to take place. And in the same villages, some farmers are selling water to a neighbor farmer, but this is not the same thing as sharing and managing as a resource from the commons point of view. So these were the questions. And what convinced the farmers was that you have groundwater today in your well, but if your neighbor farmer drills deeper, your well will dry up. So what that will mean is you will not have this water. And that really changed the conversation that let's manage together and let's work out the how we can do this as a common pool resource. So the steps in implement is local ownership of the problem. That's very important. So that is coming through monitoring groundwater level by locals and creating the environment for meaningful dialogue on groundwater commons. So it's the working together and local ownership of the solution. That's very important. If you impose something on them, it doesn't work. But if we work with them and let them work out, but we become a facilitator, then it helps. And then at the same time, local implementation of the solution. So the government programs can help, but I think we need to work with the local implementation so the farmers feel that this is in their best interest, and whatever comes on their way from other programs can be used, but they are the actual actor and benefitor. So the journey of groundwater cooperatives, initially the farmer believed that they can drill deeper, they can access more water, they didn't care about their neighbors' groundwater. That was the thing. The MARVI project and Bhujal Jankars engaged the village communities. Farmers realized they are pumping from the same common pool resource. That was the change in thinking. And that took about 2-3 years, really, this dialogue. And when we went to these villages, we will sit with them, we will sit on the floor with them and eat together their food and work with them. So that was the change. And now even today, when last time I visited or many times I visited, they have developed a relationship. So for example, they will ask, how is Peter Dillon from CSRO, or how is Roger or somebody? And that was the relationship developed. So, and it's an ongoing dialogue. And villages started working together. The concept of groundwater cooperatives was born. So this came, it was not instant. It was not in 1 year. It took 3-4 years, 5 years, and working on ongoing basis. So as I mentioned, we have formed these cooperatives in principle. There's a lot of work to be done and a lot of hard issues to work out, but we are working on pilot to operationalize, and we have developed resources for the farmers, BJs, schools, policymakers, MyWell app, for example, and we are developing some other tools, practical tools, which at the village level we can use. And we also worked in a group with the women, with the men, understanding both issues. So often we ignore some stakeholders, and so that's why we don't get a full solution, sustainable solution. So we try to understand what are the women issues in terms of water, what are the issues, how does groundwater impact on education of girls, for example, or women who have to fetch water from a few kilometers sometimes, and how does that affect? And so we understood, and we're working on these things as well. Not just groundwater. Groundwater is one of the inputs, but we need to work with people. So we moved from our simple idea of training of farmers and monitoring their wells and capacity to building for citizen science to self-realization, means internalizing things, working from sort of heart-like thing. And also, we were able to engage farmers for social learning. So we didn't go to these villages as an expert, but we went as a learner and learning collaboratively, learning to collaborate in their own social settings. And also the realization that they needed to act in concert and to protect their own commons. So that was very important. The final point, groundwater commons can do better with effective practice of communication. And that comes through learning together and acting together, especially groundwater, which is the invisible resource. And we need to make this visible through monitoring, through dialogue, through working together. So in conclusion, a complex problem often requires simple solutions. And this is very much true for groundwater management. The participatory village level monitoring approach developed in MARVI can empower village communities and help develop their own groundwater dialogue, management dialogue and strategies. Communication about what is happening, what can be done, and how it can be done is the key with the common pool and invisible resource such as groundwater. And we need to develop and simplify groundwater science that can be used and understood by farmers and implemented by government agencies. So that's very important. Otherwise, things remain in papers and in books. And another learning was BGS can collect highly reliable information for groundwater level, rainfall, recharge estimation. And BGS collected data can be used for communicating village scale groundwater balance analysis, modeling, and better understanding of what is happening. And villagers can find their solutions if they are supported and nurtured. And one of the highlights of what we have been doing for last 8 years was the MOU signing between MARVI partners and Jal Shakti Ministry in November last year. So that was a great sort of achievement for all the partners. And we have a number of publications, and they are available through this website for more understanding. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Maheshwari ji, for a wonderful talk.
Thank you.
It was quite knowledgeable, and you are doing a great work with your team. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm happy to receive any comments, or we can have some sort of dialogue or discussion.
I'm sure there would be a lot of questions to you.
Well, sir, there are usually questions in our question answer section. So I'll be reading them out one by one for you. And I hope because participants are still putting their queries in the question answer section. So I request participants to please put the queries in the question answer section, and that too relevant. And I'll be addressing them. I'll be passing them on to Maheshwari sir, and he will surely answer, right? So, sir, the first question is, means from your side, are there any valid suggestions for reviving the rural economy of hills in Uttarakhand in the wake of people coming back in droves post-COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely. I think water is one of the important inputs. And I think if we can make water sort of available and supplies reliable, they can start some agricultural, say, cash crops or things like that. And that can really give them pride and work locally. So this is something also Professor Tej Pratap ji also mentioned. The springs are drying up, for example. And if we can do something on how we can recharge and understand what is happening to these springs, for example. And this is one of the projects we have, which GB Pant is leading, this SPARK project, understanding the springs and rejuvenation of springs.
Yes, sure. We will plan few things with you, and we will surely do. Would like to do few things to increase the water level of our groundwater.
Maheshwari ji, I think this question will raise a kind of an opportunity for you. As I see, the ground situation of Uttarakhand is that wherever the migration has taken place, wherever you see that agriculture has been abundant, the real problem is the service water sources have dried up. So the challenge here would be, because unlike in the plains, digging a well becomes very difficult. But the thing that I discussed, the technological innovation of underground check dams,
Yes.
to see that you revive a smaller spring source or that small water source, or it's गांव वाला भाषा में छोटा सा नाला बोलते हैं या कुछ भी, but without water nothing can be done.
Yes.
Definitely excess use of water like we do in plains is not necessary in the hills. It is water for critical times that you need. It comes. दूसरा शायद इसमें जो जरूरी चीज है, we can tap the rainwater source.
Yes.
Rainfall will keep coming. There is abundance of annually rain, the water source that would be there. But then it's not in our habit to conserve.
Yes.
Mountains में इसके ऊपर कोई काम नहीं किया गया कि भाई how to harvest and reserve rainwater for critical times.
Yes.
If we have that kind of strategy or research strategy, how do you capture rainwater in different ways? How do you conserve it? कैसे करना है उसको? Are you digging up a well, then you are putting there, or you are doing in different ways? But there is hardly any work done on that. Spring water regeneration काफी हद तक कामयाब हुआ है, पर irrigation के लिए थोड़ा ज़्यादा करना पड़ेगा.
And
So
sir,
I think the recharge is very important.
Yes.
So if we can find local level recharge with the small effort of
And it
local-
is conditions are from village to village. I don't think you and I can prescribe one thing fit all.
Yeah.
It has to be examined. Then a strategy for that area or village devised, and which research technology or idea works there. It's from really area to area, the group of villages, single. कभी-कभी तो दो घरों के लिए अलग और बाकियों के लिए
Yes,
अलग सा
sir.
करना पड़ेगा.
Sir, actually very rightly said, we need specific designing of system for the hilly areas, and we can use some watershed or rooftop water saving kind of thing during the rainy season. So we can plan some specific things for hilly areas.
Yeah, definitely.
Sir, we have one more question. So the question is, participatory water management is a very traditional. Maheshwari, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Sir, shall I repeat the question again?
कौन सा चार्ट? क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर. इससे हो ना माउस से क्वेश्चन ऐसा नहीं है तो we can close it now. है तो इसमें. हेलो. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Dr. Anjali Tiwari. Anjali Tiwari.
Yes.
Sir, Dr. Anil Joshi from Kumaon University is putting a question to you.
Sure.
Hello. जा रही है आपके पास, जा रही है. Hello. is putting a question to you. Any valid suggestions for reviving the rural economy of hills of Uttarakhand in the wake of people coming back in those post-COVID?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, water is one of the inputs. So if we can provide water access through recharge and better management of water and support for efficient irrigation, I think that can help some of the people to grow crops which will help in the reviving rural economy. So there are a lot of other things need to happen, but water is one of the important inputs. So if water is there and if other things can be organized, we can certainly revive the economy. And I think no one wants to leave their own place when if they can have the livelihood there. And I think it's with this COVID situation, many people have come back, and we need to do something. And water is one of the areas we need to work on.
Okay. Next question is from hydrology department. Great talk, Professor Basant. I would like to ask your view of groundwater quality issues of India as we are in above pollutants.
Professor
What
Prasad,
is your what is your view of groundwater quality issue of India as we are in hub of multi-pollutants?
So if I understood correctly, you're asking about the groundwater quality in India.
Yes, please.
Okay. So groundwater quality, we've done some study on water quality in 2 watersheds, and I have understanding of the other areas. And so what we found was fluoride is a big problem in the areas where we worked. Arsenic is a serious problem in West Bengal, in part of Bihar, and like that. And also salinity is a problem in many places, and part of this is due to pumping too much groundwater. So as we go deeper and we expose the aquifer rock to oxygen and other things, some of these pollutants are mobilized and can come to our groundwater supplies and drinking water supplies. It can be a big issue. Also, recently we have found that from another study, uranium is a problem in some parts of northern India, and that's very serious. So water quality is a big issue. And once, if we, due to the human activity, if we pollute groundwater by industrial and pollution or some other reason, it's very hard to, it takes a long time and it's very expensive, and maybe we can't do much once we pollute. So we need to be very careful about the groundwater quality. It's like, say, Ganga River, for example, pollution. And similarly, we can do the same harm or even more harm to groundwater. So quality is very important, and it's a serious issue for a country like India because of all the pumping that has been happening and all the other activities.
Hello.
Yes.
Professor B.L. Sinha. B.L. Sinha, can you hear me? Dr. B.L. Sinha, please. Hello, Dr. Sinha. Okay, audience, Dr. Sinha, please.
Sir, shall I promote Dr. Sinha to a panelist?
Yeah, yes, please. Hello.
Yes, sir. So it's a
If
request
not-
from my side to Dr. Sinha, whom Sir is addressing. Please raise your hand. Raise hand so that I can.
Next, hello.
Yes, sir.
Professor Jayanti Patel. Professor Jayanti Patel from NIT Surat. Hello.
Sir, actually, I'm able to see there are usual participants. So
Hello. Dr. Jayanti Patel, can you hear me? Dr. Sangeeta Mishra. Last time hello. Hello.
yes, sir.
Dr. Swatantra Dubey. Dr. Swatantra
Yes,
Dubey.
sir. Yes, sir. Wait, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Dr. Dubey.
Yes, sir.
You have some query?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. I have query regarding modeling. If groundwater modeling is helpful for local people, vary that project.
So the modeling has a place in research and can help, but what is required is a modeling that will help understanding for the practical intervention. So we need something which can be helpful to the farmers and can be the understanding can be easily translated at the farmer level with their intervention. So when we started this project, there were some modelers, and I also have done a lot of modeling, and I realized that with all the assumptions we make and the other errors in the data and so on, by the time we come to the final conclusion of the modeling, there's no great deal of information sometimes, and especially it is true in groundwater. And so we opted for more participatory and then use the data to model it in a very basic way to understand how much is recharge, how much is the water available between after the monsoon and so on. And that really explains. So we don't need the numbers to a third decimal place. We need enough understanding that there is we have so much, broadly speaking, so much water available, and we can plan and make decisions. So modeling has a place, but to what level we go, that's the question.
Thank you. Next, please, Yogita. Sorry, Deepti.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you please introduce yourself, please, audience. Next is the last discussion. Next question.
Sir, I have unmuted Mr. Sudhanshu Dikshit. So if Sudhanshu Dikshit, yes, sir.
Dr. Sudhanshu Dikshit? Okay, he may not be. Vishal?
Vishal.
Hello.
Subhanshu, you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Actually,
please.
yes. Actually, last year, sir, we have getting one project, a small project, that is in Gujarat, that is related to check the well efficiency. Means government has initiated lot of recharge well in different part of the cities to recharge the excess rainwater. But one major problem is there, that how we can check the efficiency of that well, means whether they are working or not. So what are the suggestions from your side that we can, that what are the techniques available that we can use in a very simple way to check the efficiencies of these wells? Is there any solution?
Sure, thank you. You raised a very important question. So that is what has happened in most or many government programs. So they build the check dams, and but they didn't follow up how effective or what benefits it has given. Rarely it is done, and so in the case you referred to, if we can monitor groundwater level in that area, just the water level, for example, how deep the water level is, say every month, for example. So before the monsoon, and then during the monsoon and after the monsoon. And if we do enough monitoring in enough, say, open wells or something like this, that can give us from year to year comparison, and within the year, and if we do some areas where we are not doing any intervention like recharging, then you can see what difference it makes. So that will be a simpler thing, and doesn't require any sophisticated equipment, just a simple measuring tape with a float, and we note the reading. And then with some analysis, we can do how much difference it has made. And also the rainfall, it is important to monitor, so we understand what is the response of rainfall. And once you have several years of data, then it starts telling the story that, okay, this is how much it has influenced. So monitoring is very important, and important in the sense that it gives you satisfaction that it is working or not working, and how can we change. And also it gives confidence to government agencies, departments, that, okay, this thing works, and we can invest more. Or it gives confidence to local citizens about what they are doing, and it inspires other people. So it's a very important area, and that's how you can understand how effective it is.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Next, last is Vishal Kandagale. Vishal,
Hello.
can you hear me? Can you hear
Hello.
me, Vishal?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I can hear you. Do I am audible,
please,
sir?
You are audible. Please introduce yourself, please.
Sir,
Please.
my name is Vishal, sir. I am from Tumkur, Karnataka. I am a research scholar from Siddhganga Institute of Technology, sir. Sir, my question is, do I am audible, sir?
Yeah,
Yes,
you are
yes,
audible.
yes, you are.
Audible.
Sir, right now in Karnataka, many of the villages are dependent on groundwater only, sir. And the major problem here is the fluoride contamination. My question is, the recharge of groundwater is a better solution for geogenic contamination, because here in Karnataka there are large number of RO plants are there. We are using RO plants to provide our drinking water. Again, the concentration of fluoride in the reject RO is very high. recharge of groundwater is a better option for geogenic contamination, sir?
Yeah, definitely. So if we can dilute the stored groundwater through recharge, it certainly reduces the fluoride content. And if we enough recharge, then it can bring down to acceptable level. So there is, I think this is a better solution than, say, trying to remove fluoride by chemical means or some other RO or like that. If we can find a natural way, that's much better. So recharge is a good idea, and it can work if we do enough recharge, because it freshens the groundwater and dilutes
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
fluoride level.
Dr. Narendra Jain.
Good morning, sir. I would like to ask a very simple question. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, you are.
Sir, as far as Rajasthan and Gujarat are concerned, you have worked there, and just I would like to know what are the challenges that you have faced while recharging those areas, Rajasthan as well as Gujarat.
So first thing is convincing farmers that you can do recharge yourself, because generally what is happening is they will lobby the panchayat or watershed development department to construct a check dam, for example. And check dams are located where people can influence the decision. But most farmers um, are away from check dams. So what we have done in last 3 years is local level recharge. So collecting rainwater into a pit and then recharging into the well, nearby well. So right now the government of Rajasthan has agreed to put more such pits, recharge pits. So they are about 50 cubic meter in size. And if we can have a filling of these check recharge pits 7 to 8 times during the monsoon, that will be about 300 or more cubic meter of water. And that is enough to provide 4 or 5 irrigations for 1 bigger land. And that pit takes less than 3% of the area. And so we have demonstrated last monsoon, and now based on that experience, we are expanding this pilot, and with more data and refinement. If this works, I think this is the way to recharge groundwater at a individual farmer level. So they don't have to depend on big dams or check dams, but they can do themselves. They can look after themselves, maintain, and that they realize that what they do through this local level recharge benefits them. And it is, if everyone does this, and especially in hard rock areas, they get the benefit of it locally. But in alluvial areas, many more farmers have to do local level recharge. But in hard rock areas, because of the fractures and the water travels so much compared to the alluvial areas, it is possible. So that's how you can do.
Dr. Suvarna Shah. Reshmi. Dr. Reshmi. Dr. Suvarna Shah, please. Now I think we shall close the session. Any other? Hello? Dr. Sharad Jain? Dr. Joshi? Can you hear me, sir? Okay. Thank you, Professor, for your.
Dr. Joshi is Dr. Ninakshi Joshi or someone else?
Sharad Joshi. Hello.
Okay, sir. Sir, Dr. Ninakshi Joshi is over here.
Dr. Meenakshi Arora.
Dr. Meenakshi Arora.
It's okay. Fine, sir. Thank you for your nice presentation. Now, I'm just. Kashyap, sir. Professor Kashyap. Professor Kashyap.
Sir, he is not here. Sir, let me make a call to Dr. Kashyap.
Yeah, please. Hello, Kashyap. Hello. Hello. So finally, we shall close to this webinar. I think we took some extra time also because of some technical issues. So now, once again, I am thanking Professor Basant for delivering his webinar address from all the way from Western Sydney University, Australia. Thank you, sir, once again for your kind permission and addressing our all the participants, both nationally and internationally.